How do we handle anger as a collective? It's very important. The first point is that there are certain forms of anger which are held collectively. And when I say that, I mean each person holds like a little tiny piece of it. We've talked before about how the Vedic vision is that Kali hides in the hearts of mankind, and Kali is responsible for the fact that the laws of nature at this time on Earth are, they're sort of like, they allow suffering. Suffering is allowed on Earth at this time. All of us know that if we look at reality, if we look at our Earth, we're a family of humanity, we say, gee, you know, the potential for everyone to not suffer is here. Look at the abundance that we have on this Earth, right? Look at the wisdom that we have. Look at the technology that we have. It should be that if we put our resources together, if we pool them intelligently, we can end up with a world that is good for everyone. But for some reason, the laws of nature are so constructed that crummy stuff is able to rise up, and it's allowed somehow or able to go along unnoticed and unhandled for significant enough amounts of time that people's lives are ruined. We all have the good intent. Who doesn't have a good intention? Who doesn't want the world to be a happier place? Deep down, everybody wants that. Deep down. So I'm just putting that seed into being. That deep down, everyone wants this world to be a happier place. And in this time of the pandemic, and in this time of terrible weather patterns happening in Europe, I understand. And of course, the protests. And lots of other parts of the world, other stuff is happening too. So the foundation of intelligent application of compassion is rising. If there's one thing that our group is good for and good at, it is producing a tidal wave of compassion. We've done this many times with amazing results. Compassion plays into the small ego side of the collective field because it's at the small ego side of self, or side of the ego set, facet of the ego, where what we do is important and what we do matters, and life matters. Life matters. At the big cosmic level, you know, life comes and goes, a life, another life, billions and trillions and zillions of lives. So they all mush together. But at the individual level, every little bit counts. So we're finding our sweet spot, right? We're finding our sweet spot along the spectrum of ego. And the sweet spot in this case is a little closer to the individual end. But because we are a collective, we are also holding that larger perspective of ego in its fullness in our group, as our group. And I'm just looking at what's happening in the energy field. In the web of life, there are expressions, very kind of, they look like fast flows of very bright light being produced by our collective, are flowing through the web of life, the astral field, a little bit like bolts of lightning, a little bit like bolts of lightning. They're fast and they're super bright, but what they're doing is it's coming through a little bit like a pulse of energy. Like if we think of a current, it's coming through a little bit like a current, but it's a current of clear awareness, pure energy, pure force of being. And it contains in it, I'm just reading it as it's coming through, it contains in it the seed of that pure potential. Oh, that was the original seed that we put into the field of being, right? When we're making our appeal for this healing, we were saying there's this potential of our world and our resources in our world to be organized in such a way that everyone is fed and everyone has good health care and everyone is comfortable and everyone is sheltered and everyone has access to knowledge and love. Everyone has access to a loving, supportive environment. That's so important. And it's interesting, that last point took me by surprise, because I don't necessarily lump it together with access to clean water and things like that. But I realized how important that is for everyone's well-being, health and well-being. And what our healing collective is doing as we're radiating this current out into the web of life is we are activating the connection between each individual and their inner safe space, their pure potential, everyone's pure potential and everyone's inner safe, everyone's sacred healing space. Because it's in your sacred healing space, it's when your awareness is anchored in to your inner safe healing space that the true experience of being surrounded by those who love and understand and care for you, that's where that experience is. You think when I said it, one would think when I said that, one would think that I meant, oh, everyone should have like a loving family around them. Yes, that's also important, to actually have human beings around who are supportive and kind and considerate and uplifting and so forth. But that those family groupings or tribal groupings or friend groupings, those groupings they're sitting on the platform of already that sense of within me, I have this place where I am safe and I am protected and I am loved and I am understood and I am recognized and my voice is heard. Yeah? So that place where your voice is heard, that place where your voice is heard, this is so important. It is so important. What's awakening is within everyone's causal field, that region of self where one's voice is heard. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at the mechanics of how this particular type of region manifests. It is a region of the causal field that embraces the spectrum of ego in such a way that you are both the individual speaking their truth, and it's meaningful and it's important and it needs to be said, and you are also that good listener who is wise and has perspective and resources and wisdom to listen to that truth and expand it or uplift it, complete it, bring it up to its fullness, bring it to wholeness. We all have that listener in us. We all have that listener. So sometimes when we're dealing with difficult situations, we need to be heard. We need to be heard in order to put our experience into perspective and create some order out of a chaotic set of pieces of information from the universe that are designed to bring a lesson, that are designed to bring us to a level of internal integration, right? We start getting these pieces of information coming from the outside that don't fit nicely with what we previously understood, or or that we don't feel we have resources to cope with or whatever. And we need to make sense out of these bits of information. So all this that I'm saying to you, this is the download that's going to the human collective in order to establish this anchor, the stable place for humanity to be in a relationship with themselves, each person to be in a relationship with themselves where they have organized their internal landscape so that stepping forward progressively and yet gracefully and intelligently is possible, Good. This is good.